Yo, what is good, my anime faithful? What is good, yo? Guys, it feels so good to talk about some Rick and Morty, including seeing how that break was pretty ridiculously long, and we definitely deserve some finishing continuation, at least to say. But now that we have it, and now that we get into the very first episode of it coming back, all of the meta references and jokes and just overall pointing, fingers and having fun, it just are like hard reminds me of how intelligent and smart the creators of this show is, and that not only do they hear fans and they notice what fans be talking about, they honestly can throw jabs at them regardless of, being trying to do it in such a negative way, so to speak. Um, I just like the grand form that not only do they kind of put it out there that, the continuity that they want to exist out there is the continuity that exists, right? Like, there's always going to be some people that can look so far into things compared to others and be so convincing that you might lose yourself in the case of what's real and what's fake just because people try to make it so. They pretty much had the main person who was in this weird train that they're in this whole time, that every single time when they get hit outside of it, they pretty much start seeing different continuities and different stuff that could have been canon or something along those lines, and he was sucking the canoncy out of it, pretty much taking whatever good ideas the shows pretty much had and wanted to use it the way he saw fit because he didn't think anything Rick or Morty was doing was, worth talking about in the grand scheme of how it's executed, how you get from point A to B with it just being a bunch of fart jokes and this and that. But the best part of it is none of this stuff even feels uh, like it remotely will ever matter because that's just the way the episode and the show handles it as a whole. Is not only were you paying so much attention to every single detail like the show wanted you to, but will any of this detail even have a reason afterwards? You know what I mean? Like, will any of this stuff be brought up? We go back to seeing characters like Adolf Hitler. We see the guy who was also with him, Lincoln Linkler, or whatever you want to call him. We saw evil Morty show up and pretty much take over uh, every dominant species that we've seen throughout Rick and Morty's time. Meets he's being pretty dominant if they actually all have the same common goal in the case of taking all strokes off your game. Um, there's just so many good things that came from this episode alone when it comes down to just jabbing. I mean, he even brings up interdimensional cable just because it's Rick, like Rick is the one of the better characters written because he's just so free to do whatever the heck he wants and it doesn't really um, change regardless of what he says. There's still going to be a point A to the finish point. It's just that he's going to mock and make fun of every single chance he gets to. He's going to thrash it, right? And that's the best part about these characters. That's the best part about this show is that these writers get all the creative space they get to be able to do what they want. Um, we're holding them to a pretty high level of everything coming out of here needs to be a masterpiece and this and that, but at the end of the day, even if it's not a masterpiece, even if it's not something that people would say this episode is better than any other episode they've ever seen, you're still going to remember it. You're still going to recall moments of it, because that's just what they're good at. They're good at always bringing you into something that even if you didn't understand it the first time, they want you to watch it multiple times. Whatever you miss, they want you to catch it. And that's how most of the fans are as well, that post and talk. Everything that happened in this week's episode, from Morty and Rick being the people asking how to get off the train, all the way to the point of finding out that the train isn't even real itself and that they're just toy versions of Rick and Morty. There's just a ridiculous amount of stuff that happens so quickly that next thing you know, you're just looking at yourself trying to figure out if you actually caught everything they were trying to. Like the guy says at the end, did you get any of that? Like, there's not any show that's been like this and like consistent where I still actually ask myself, did I really get any of that? like, did I understand what they were trying to tell me? And the answer usually is no. Like, hearing what other people say and what they found and different Easter eggs is always cool. But at the end of the day, Go Gadget tank legs, holy crap! Um, it just leads us to believe the people who are doing this deserve as much time as they got, or how much time they need to get it done the right way. I've always, since season 2, had faith that these guys will just pull out something hilarious, pull out something new and innovative. But at the same time, if stuff starts getting stale, I'm not going to be like, trying to just save face and be like, oh no, it wasn't stale, it's just the show has done so much stuff. Like, nah, like there's an infinite amount of infinite possibilities that could be happening, and the show creators and the people who are really getting this stuff down to a T are figuring out just how powerful they can be with this show in general. Just having everybody understand a certain line, that there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can come up with, but if it isn't said on the show, if it isn't shown on the show, you shouldn't believe it. And that's kind of what I got from some of this, which is cool. I mean, I already didn't really believe in that. I mean, it's more or less for casual fans or people who don't go on YouTube or Reddit or whatnot to find the answers of other people that just watch the same thing you did. They just watch it, accept it for what it was, and then they just move on. So everything, like I said in this week's episode, was like covered in references and different things that's happened in Rick and Morty. Not to mention the fact that they pretty much said it was in a Blitz and Chips like reality, but somehow the guy at Blitz and Chips existed in the reality of a train that then kept other people like toys who had their own memories and ways to manipulate them. Like, it is so elaborate to the point where if you're telling me you understood every single ancient crevice that happened from one watch, I'm calling you a liar. I'm calling you a liar. So much different stuff happened. If you definitely missed it, you have to watch it, please. I try not to say a whole bunch of spoilers in here, besides the facts of like what caught my attention, why you should either watch it, what I didn't like, stuff like that in my videos. I don't like to go from minute 001 to 24 minutes of just telling you every exact thing that happened, because I would be here all day. But anyway, Rick and Morty is back. They are showing why they're the kings of animation comedy right now. I haven't even seen Family Guy in a ridiculous amount of times, or any other shows that are comedy and animation based, for a long time, it feels like. And even if I did see them, I couldn't tell you what I saw or that I was passionate enough to be making videos about it, because Rick and Morty is truly something special to me. Might not be special to everybody, which is fine. Which is also, I hope that the fandom can understand. Like, understand, not everybody loves what we're gonna love. And just because they don't love it, you don't have to force them into it or try to find a way to make them love it. There's other things that they need to go on and do and keep us as much as we are the real ones, the true ones. But with all that being said, everybody, definitely drop me anything you were enjoying of this episode of Rick and Morty. Um, all the way from Rick pretty much putting himself in the situation supposedly, but come to find out the whole entire thing's a ploy, and you gotta love that the creators either A, were somehow hearing about this pandemic, or B, they added it at the very last minutes of it being a lot more of a crisis, and they threw something in there for it. And I thought that was a very powerful message in the case of also saying something like that at the end of your video, at the end of anything, or saying something that is dated, will always be there. So at any time in the future, and there may be 7 seasons out by the time this happens, someone goes back and they see that, you know exactly what time period that episode was made. You know exactly what time period everything was popping off, and that's what's really cool about that to me. But I am starting to level up a lot more of these characters. I'm just gonna start doing random picks on some of these videos. So hope you guys enjoy that. I'll talk to you in the next one. Rick and Morty's back. Check it out. Talk to me about it. I love me some Rick and Morty. But with all that being said, everybody, have a good one, and peace.